had something due for today. Instead, I organised my whole room. So yeah, let's talk about procrastination. Hey, I'm Samaya, and this is Still Sorting It Out, a podcast for teens by teens. Today we're talking about procrastination, motivation, and why can't I just start? So, what actually is procrastination? I had to search this up while I was planning what to do for this episode, and I came to the conclusion that procrastination is not the same as laziness, because it's okay to be lazy sometimes, but not all the time. Because, yeah, you don't want to do the tasks, but you have to get them done. Procrastination is mostly feeling overwhelmed, and you've got this pressure from yourself to do it perfectly. But also, you don't always know where to start, and that's a big one for me. Think of it like having a big burger. When it's falling apart in your hand and you just know you have to take a bite, but because it's so big and it's just falling apart with loads of sauce, you don't know where to start. But once you started, you can gobble that thing down. So there are things that really hit when it comes to procrastination. Things like the 5-minute scroll. So when you tell yourself, I'll just scroll for 5 minutes, it's one video turning into another, and it just continues for ages. It's alright because you don't have to feel like it's only you and that it's you that putting this task off, because apps are designed this way. TikTok and YouTube are designed so that you carry on going, carry on watching. And so it's hard, but you have to find ways to overcome, to not tell yourself, I'll just scroll for 5 minutes, because that 5 minutes will turn into an hour. So when you are doing things like scrolling, you need to figure out a way to kind of put a limit on the apps that you normally go on, things like Netflix, etc. And there are apps that you can actually download. I'm just talking about downloading more apps here, but they lock the apps that you've chosen so that you don't use them until you've finished your task. And that can be really helpful if you've kind of almost got a really big issue with just scrolling non-stop. And things like these apps that do help, it makes you kind of want to achieve it and makes you want to get to that point where actually, if I do this piece of homework, if I do this task that I need to do, then I can unlock this app. And it's just the feeling of like happiness and that, oh my god, I've actually done it. I've done this task that I need to do, and now I can have my relaxing time, I can take my break. So the 5-minute scroll is definitely something that stops you from doing your task. And phones make procrastination easier. They make it easier to be like, actually, I'm gonna go and scroll instead of do the homework that I need to do. Another thing is the fear of doing it badly. And this is the same as pressure to do it perfectly, and it's a really big one. Sometimes you've got a fear of starting because it won't be perfect. And I can link this to my life. I remember I was in a science lesson and we had this homework, but it played a big part in our final grade for that unit. And I've got the piece of paper in front of me and I just can't start. My brain will not give me any ideas on how to complete this task. And so I think now looking back on that, it was probably because I was trying so hard to do it perfectly that actually I kind of forgot everything, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it at home instead. Or I would make up the most unnecessary excuse. Instead of doing it when I go home, I would have to clean my room, for example, or take out the washing. Just something that I don't like, but will help me stall until doing that because I'm scared of doing it badly. Another thing is your mindset, and if you have you're thinking that if I can't do it, I won't do it at all, and that is a really bad mindset to be in, because it's like saying if I can't cut the pizza with the pizza cutter, I'm not going to eat it, because you're actually going to end up eating it. So think of it the same way. If you can't do something that you like the first time, are you actually going to stop? If you're playing football and you don't score the first time, are you just going to give up? And that's how you have to think of your homework or the task that you really don't like. And that is what procrastination is. It's overthinking. And so that is where you need to know that I think you would rather have some bad work instead of no work. And even if it's bad, that's why you've got things like mind maps, and that helps so much because you jot everything down, and that is like your starting place. Remember, think of it like a flight of stairs. You have to climb one step to get to the top. You can't just jump all the way. So when you do that first step of making a mind map or just jotting down your ideas, and mind maps don't work for everyone, you have to find something that works for you. Certainly not for me. The first time I tried a mind map, I was like, what on earth even is this? How is this going to help me? But now, if I have an essay that I need to write, sometimes I just draw a circle, put my main point into that circle, and I can branch off, jot all my ideas, and then while I'm writing my paragraph or my essay, all I have to do is carry on looking back, and it's kind of like a plan that you work through, and you don't have to add in all of those ideas that you put in that mind map, just the ones that you actually need, the ones that work. And that is why it's a draft. Not all your ideas are going to be good. You're going to have good and bad ones, and that's fine because everyone has good and bad ideas. So remember, don't think if I can't do it, I won't do it at all, because it's one step at a time. And I know you've probably heard that a lot, but trust me, try jumping to the top of a flight of stairs and see what happens. You're going to fall down. So don't try to jump to the end of your task. Take it step by step. You can't write an essay without making a plan, even if it's just in your head. You can't write that paragraph without, thinking what you're going to write about. So that is why it's so important. Another thing is motivation. And that's something that's in the title of this episode, because procrastination and motivation really go well together. And in my opinion, motivation usually comes after you start. When you're doing your homework, once you write one line, everything's just going to flow onto the page. Trust me. And that's because you just need to have that one little push. Like if you're on the top of your slide when you were a kid, I'm sure you didn't want to go down it, but your parents pushed you, and that was the motivation. After you started, you felt that rush of joy and you wanted to go again and again. I'm sure you won't want to go again and again with your homework, but it's the same kind of thing. Once you get that little push, everything is going to go onto the page, or everything's going to get done, because you've finally felt ready almost, and waiting to feel ready always keeps you stuck. So once you've had that push, you're ready and you're feeling like, I can do this. So a thing that I've realised is, I bet you haven't ever felt motivated to do homework. I surely haven't, unless it's fun. Somehow, once I've started, it gets done within 40 minutes, less than that sometimes, and it always gets done. And that's because all I needed was that bit of a push to just get it on the page, get my book open, and once the book is open and once you've read your task that you need to do, all you need to do is start. And the fact that once you've written one sentence brings me perfectly into my next point, which is staring at a blank page. And the feeling is horrible. And this is what I was talking about with my science homework. I remember sitting in the classroom with my pen in my hand and looking at the page, giving it a full death stare, thinking that something might just come to my mind, but it didn't. And that's because I was feeling overwhelmed. I had the pressure to do it perfectly because I wanted to get a good grade, and that's fine because obviously you want to get a good grade. That's what makes you feel happy. But you don't want to have a good grade so bad that your mind goes blank and you don't know where to start. The feeling, like I said, is horrible. You're just looking at a blank piece of paper with your pen clicking in your hand, or you're twisting it or something, and your brain is just empty. You're like looking back there and you can't find anything. You've forgotten it all. But remember, I'm pretty sure this happens to everyone. And it's alright if, again, you use mind maps or you write it rubbish first. Because once you've written it rubbish, you can look back on that and you can be like, hang on, I can change this and I can change this. And you carry on making it better until it's something that you like, that you want to stick with. And so when you are staring at a blank page, things like starting with the smallest possible step, starting with only the title, thinking about what you are actually writing about. Is it a story for English, or is it an essay for history, or a task for science like mine? Like, if you start with the title and you just kind of give your brain a refresh, take a 5-minute break and stare at something else, look at something else and take your mind off of it. Once you've done that, come back and read. You've probably got like a little paragraph that explains what you're writing about. And if you just read that sentence to yourself, and maybe like the first time, just read it, and the second time actually pay attention to it. And you're giving your brain a refresh about like, what am I actually doing with this? What do I actually need to accomplish with this homework or with this task? And once you've done that, you want to think about the title, like I said, and then move on to the next step, which is starting with one sentence. And as I was saying, you just have to open up the page. And once you open up your book, it gives you a motivation. It gives you that little push down the slide that actually I should do this, and my book's here, I don't have anything to do, why don't I just do it now? So take one step at a time. First, take a break, but not too long, 5 minutes, just to take your mind off of it. Then open up your book, read the task, sort out your title, think about what you're actually doing, and take time. And also don't do it if you know that I'm going to have to take a break. Because for me personally, if I have to take a break, I will not be coming back to it. Like I said last episode, if I'm cleaning my room, have to go to dinner, I will not get back to that till 2 days later. So try to plan it in a day, at the start of the day when you know you're just going to be taking it easy, or at the end of the day when you know you're just going to be relaxing. Do it in a time where you know you don't have to rush it or take a break in between, unless you like taking breaks in between. So yeah. The next thing is set a timer. And things that help for this is breaking things into blocks, and I explained this last episode, but remember, just set a timer for about half an hour or 10 to 15 minutes if you want, and stop when it ends if you want. But if you don't want to stop, just get it done, finish it. Take as long as you need, but get it done. Don't leave it on your desk with loads of papers and leave it there, because once you leave it there, it's going to be really hard to start again. And the thing with me, if I know in class the lesson's done, but I haven't finished writing my paragraph, and the teacher said we are going to get back to this next lesson, which is tomorrow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm going to jot down everything in my brain, because I know tomorrow I'm not going to remember that. I'm just going to scribble it all down, and within 2 minutes it will all be down in pencil with bullet points. That means tomorrow when I come back to it, I can read over those notes and I can just get all of my points down again. So that also helps, like if you just jot down all your points on a rough piece of paper, or like I said, in a pencil that you can rub out. The next thing is changing environment. I'm sure you've seen people in coffee shops working, and it helps to be in a different room, because when you're outside, for example in a coffee shop, you don't have the TV in front of you or your bed to lie down on. You're almost in like an office in a professional workspace, but a bit calmer, or like you're in school or something. And when you've got that motivation that actually I can't lie down here and I can't turn on Netflix, you want to just do it and get it over and done with. And that makes sense, because sometimes you just need to change the environment. It is really not nice when you're sitting in your room for the whole day doing a bunch of homework. Halfway through the day, if you know you're going to spend that whole day doing work, change your environment. If that's even going into a different room or taking a walk outside, just get out of that room, because you are going to start, your brain is going to start hurting. Another thing is music versus silence. Now, some people really like silence when they're working. I am not one of those people. When you're working, obviously you want to be at a desk of some sort, if that's the kitchen island or just the dinner table or even the desk in your room, because it helps tell your brain, we are working now. If you're doing it slouched on the sofa, your brain is in relaxed mode. I remember my teachers telling me that if you slouch, your brain is going into slouching mode. It's telling you, your muscles are telling your brain, I do not want to do work, and you're just going to zone out. So your environment is really helpful, but also what's on in the background. Me personally, I like talking in the background, or I put the TV on, and that is a bad habit that I really want to change, but it's not that easy. So remember, taking small steps. A thing that I've tried to change is firstly working at a desk of some sort, not slouching on the sofa. But the other thing is, instead of putting the TV on, putting some music on. And this can be calming music where it's just instrumental, or this can be music you really like with words. But whatever it is, having something on the background that will not necessarily distract you, but still keep you going. Like, I like doing my homework while singing along to a song, and that's fine, because I'm still focusing on my homework. I've just got something that helps me, gives me a little bit of like a push, like actually this doesn't have to be very boring. And so whether that's instrumental or music with words, I don't know the word for it, but it always helps to keep yourself on track, for me personally at least. And I know when I'm reading a book, I don't want music with words, because I'm already reading, and that can really sometimes be distracting, and for some people it can be distracting to have music with the words when you're doing homework as well. So it just depends on your preference. Earlier I talked about your mindset, and it's really important to make a switch in your mindset. You can't tell yourself that I cannot do this, because you are not going to want to do it and you're not going to get to doing it. So you want to tell yourself that because I'm procrastinating, because I'm thinking over and over again, because I just can't start, it doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that you're tired or overwhelmed. That's when breaks really come into hand. And so take a break but not too long to the point where you forget everything. Like I said earlier, taking a break to just look around and then come back to refresh your thoughts is really helpful. Do things that help you and figure out what that is. Remember, you don't need to do everything in one day, hopefully. If you have homework to do, please don't leave it to the last minute, because I probably sound like your teachers or your parents right now, but it's so important. And when you're leaving it to the last minute, honestly, you're not really learning anything. You're just stressing that, oh my God, I need to get this done or I'm going to get a detention or my teacher's going to be mad. And once that's there, you are just so focused on getting this done that you're not taking in what you're learning, whether that's multiplication or something harder. And so try to do it on a day that's like suitable. I get it, if you're doing it on a Sunday morning and your homework's due on Monday, that's fine, but don't be doing it on the Sunday evening, half an hour before you're going to bed, because honestly, you're just stressing yourself out there. When you do get set homework, people say, do the homework on the day I give you. And that can be helpful for some people if you just like getting it done when you get it and you don't want to do it any time later. But for other people, it can be quite hard to the fact that I've learnt it in class that day and now I've got to do it again. It can be quite hard to come back to it. I guess it's kind of helpful if you do it the day because you remember everything, and that's what lots of people say. But for me, I kind of just need a break. And even if that's just a day, to just kind of refresh and just take that time for myself, not doing the same subject the day and the night. And so I tend to do my homework on a Saturday, the weekend, and I just get it all done first thing in the morning when I wake up. I've got loads of energy after breakfast and I'm not tired or got other things on my mind. And so maybe you want to wake up, have your breakfast, take a shower and kind of just get fresh. Because if you're doing your homework in your pyjamas, it's kind of the same thing as lying on the sofa and doing your homework. You're in a relaxing mode. So if you get changed, even if it's just into joggers, or just having that shower, or just doing your skincare, that can really help kind of set a boundary between relaxing and the homework time. So if you're struggling with procrastination, you're not broken, you're just human. I'm going to end it there. I'm Samaya and this is Still Sorting It Out. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye.